Okay, let's unpack this because um, imagine finding a really detailed step-by-step manual to spiritual enlightenment, right? You translate it from its original language, you get to page 1, and the very first instruction is basically uh, stop studying, drop your ambitions, and start treating your entire life like a meaningless game.
Right. It's just completely wild.
Yeah, today we are looking at a text that effectively burns down everything we think we know about self-improvement and, intellectual growth.
It is a profound departure from the usual formulas. I mean, we are so conditioned to view progress as a grind. You measure your habits, you accumulate knowledge, you build a philosophical framework for your life.
Exactly, yeah.
And this text argues that doing all of that is precisely why you aren't making any real progress.
And that really brings us to the core of this deep dive.
Yeah.
So we're unpacking a fascinating 2011 translated text by an author named Saving, and it's titled, See How Far You Are from Becoming a Celestial Being.
Quite the title.
It really is.
Yeah.
So our mission today is to explore this specific, incredibly counterintuitive roadmap to spiritual ascension. And we're going to look at the surprising psychological criteria it demands if you want to, well, level up.
Right.
For those of you listening who pride yourselves on being lifelong learners, the ones who constantly consume information to optimize your lives, the author's thesis is going to be a direct intellectual challenge.
Oh, absolutely. And to understand the mechanics of this roadmap, we first need to define the stakes.
Okay.
The author isn't just speaking metaphorically about feeling better. There is a literal theological geography at play here.
Wow, really?
Yeah, the grand prize, the ultimate destination of this entire process is ascending to what is called the Celestial Islands continent.
Okay, which sounds like something straight out of a fantasy novel. What exactly does that mean in the context of this text? Like, is it a physical place or is it a state of mind?
Well, in Feng's framework, it functions as the highest utopian realm of existence. You can think of it as a dimension of perfect harmony, where beings exist entirely free from earthly suffering, from physical decay, and just the chaotic constraints of the mortal world.
Oh, that sounds pretty good.
It does, but you don't just jump straight to the continent. The author provides a very rigid taxonomy. Basically, 5 distinct tiers of celestial beings you have to climb through.
Okay, so what are the tiers?
You have ghost celestial beings, human celestial beings, land celestial beings, deity celestial beings, and finally super celestial beings.
Okay, I have to stop you right at the beginning of that list because the text does something deeply confusing right out of the gate.
Oh, the ghost tier.
Yeah, it introduces these 5 tiers, but then it explicitly says, we do not aspire to be ghost celestial beings. It just throws the first tier out immediately. I mean, why even include it in the taxonomy if you're going to dismiss it without a second thought?
What's fascinating here is it's a brilliant psychological framing device. The author doesn't bother to explain the mechanics of a ghost celestial being or, what makes it undesirable, because the goal isn't to dwell on the bottom. Yeah, by explicitly rejecting that lowest tier, immediately the text forces the reader's attention to the second tier, which is the human celestial being. It establishes that as the true starting line.
So it's a way of saying, like, your baseline doesn't start in the basement. It starts right here with your current human condition.
Precisely. And by noting that deity and super celestial beings are still a long way off, it narrows the reader's focus.
Right, you're not overwhelmed.
Exactly. You aren't supposed to worry about ultimate godhood yet. All of your cognitive energy is directed squarely at achieving the status of a human celestial being.
Okay, so if the human celestial being is our starting line, we have to look at the exact criteria for crossing it. And the text outlines exactly 8 states of mind you have to achieve.
8 specific checkpoints, yeah.
And what's striking is that there is no mysticism here. There's no chanting. There are no physical endurance tests. It is basically a profound internal psychological audit.
It really is an audit. Let's break down the mechanics of that. So the first cluster of requirements, points 1, 2, and 8, they focus entirely on severing attachments.
Okay. Point 1 demands you sever earthly ties and clear your mind of hindrances. Point 2 requires an inner brightness, a deep tranquility, where your thoughts are no longer chaotic. I want to look closely at the mechanism of that chaos because point 8 offers a really specific trigger for it. It says that to achieve this steep pick, life, death, honor, and disgrace must no longer bother you.
Right.
And like ignoring life and death is a classic spiritual trope, but ignoring honor and disgrace.
Mhm.
That feels much more grounded in our daily reality. I mean, we spend massive amounts of cognitive energy managing our reputations.
We really do. And
Yeah.
that is exactly why honor and disgrace are singled out. Think about the sheer volume of chaotic thoughts generated by social anxiety.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Like, did I sound intelligent in that meeting? Am I respected by my peers? If you
Mhm.
are constantly managing your ego to secure honor and avoid disgrace, your mind is in a perpetual state of defense.
That is exhausting just thinking about it.
It is. You are continuously projecting future scenarios and analyzing past interactions.
But wait, if I completely stop caring about my reputation, and I am genuinely unbothered by whether I live or die, don't it? I just become an emotionless husk.
That's a fair question.
Right. Because if literally nothing bothers me, where's the motivation to even interact with the world?
That is the logical assumption, but the text argues the exact opposite. Shedding that ego doesn't leave a void. It clears the channel for something else.
Oh, okay.
And this brings us to the second cluster of milestones, points 3, 4, and 5. These are entirely focused on joy.
Joy.
Yeah. Once you are no longer burning energy on defending your honor or fearing death, point 3 says life naturally begins to feel simple and is filled only with joy.
And point 4 escalates that joy into what the author calls dropping into an, quote, ocean of love.
Such a great visual.
It is. But point 5 is the one that really demands dissection, I think. It states you must constantly yearn for all that is beautiful and feel that all beautiful things are actively walking towards you.
Right.
That phrasing is just so specific. It's not just appreciating beauty. It's like this magnetic relationship.
What's fascinating here is it's describing a shift in perception. When your mind is cluttered with the chaos of survival and reputation, you develop a sort of tunnel vision.
Like you're only seeing the next problem.
Exactly. You only see threats or immediate advantages. When you drop those filters, your awareness expands. You aren't forcing beauty to happen and you aren't chasing it.
Right.
You are simply, for the first time, open to receiving it. Because your defensive barriers are down, it feels as though the beauty of the world is naturally gravitating toward you.
Okay, I can totally appreciate the poetry of that, but this is where I have to throw a major philosophical flag on the play.
Here we go.
Yeah, we need to talk about point 6 and 7, because this is where the text moves from poetic to deeply controversial.
It really does.
Point 6 advocates for radical acceptance, right?
Mm.
Acting randomly, going with the flow, having zero attachments to outcomes.
Yeah.
And then point 7 demands that you feel everything is a, quote, fun game,
Yeah.
and that you constantly want to immerse yourself in entertainment and games.
It definitely shatters the image of the stoic suffering monk on the mountain, doesn't it?
Completely. But here is my issue with it.
Yeah.
I see the logic of lowering your stress, but doesn't treating reality like a literal game inherently make you reckless?
How do you mean?
Well, like if I decide my responsibilities are just an illusion and I just want to play a game, what happens to my mortgage, what happens to my kids?
Right, the real world consequences.
Yeah. Am I a highly evolved human celestial at that point, or am I just avoiding my adult life?
Well, you're touching on the fundamental tension of the text, but we have to view point 7 through the lens of point 8. Remember, to even reach this stage, you have already genuinely stopped fearing death and disgrace.
Right. Okay.
So if you stop caring about your mortgage, the bank will still foreclose on your house. But the text would argue that treating life as a game doesn't necessarily mean you stop paying the mortgage.
Then what does it mean?
It means you stop tying your existential worth and your inner peace to the house.
I'm struggling to reconcile that, though. Because if I lose my house, my family suffers. That's a very real consequence.
It is a real consequence in the mortal realm. But Zhuofeng's philosophy requires you to sever those earthly ties. If you have truly detached, the loss of the house is just a turn of the board game.
Wow. Just a turn of the board game.
Yeah, escapism implies you are hiding from a burden because the burden terrifies you. But if you are unbothered by disgrace or death, there is no terror left.
Oh, I see. So the fear is gone.
Exactly. Reality transforms into play precisely because the existential dread of losing the game has been removed. You act according to the situation, you go with the flow because there is no rigid, ego-driven outcome you are desperately trying to control.
Okay. Assuming someone can actually achieve that terrifying level of detachment,
Yeah.
how do they practically get there? Like if the goal is this effortless, joyous, game-like existence, what is the protocol?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting.
Because this brings us to what I think is the most provocative part of the entire deep dive, especially for our listeners. Because the author has a scathing critique of how intelligent people usually try to evolve.
It is an absolute dismantling of intellectualism. The text points out that historically, seekers of truth focus heavily on acquiring knowledge.
Right.
They study complex metaphysical theories, they memorize scriptures, they practice intricate mystical arts, and the author's conclusion is blunt. By doing this, they completely fail to become celestial beings, and ultimately they waste their lives.
Hearing that the pursuit of knowledge is a waste of life is going to make a lot of people bristle. I mean, we are told constantly that reading more, studying more, and analyzing more is the key to growth. Why does this text view learning as a trap?
Because intellectualizing spirituality turns it into an achievement, it creates more attachments.
Oh, like you're trying to win at being spiritual.
Exactly. You become attached to being right, to understanding complex frameworks, to the prestige of being a, quote, scholar of the universe.
Nah.
Every theory you study just adds another layer of cognitive clutter to that mental chaos we talked about in point 2. You are trying to think your way out of thinking, which is impossible.
So if we have to throw out the library, what is the alternative? The text introduces what it calls the guide's path.
But it guides path, yes.
And it emphasizes that this path is fascinating because it is completely devoid of complexity.
Yeah.
You literally just follow the guide day by day.
It replaces active, stressful conquering of information with a passive, joyful unfolding.
To understand the mechanics of this, imagine you want to drive across the country to a city you've never seen. The traditional method, the intellectual approach the text is critiquing, is like refusing to leave your driveway until you have studied a 1,000-page manual on satellite engineering and cartography and internal combustion.
Right, you're just stuck in the driveway.
Yeah, you spend years mastering the theory of the road, stressing over traffic patterns that haven't even happened yet.
And by the time you've mastered the theory, you're exhausted. Your mind is full of anxiety about the journey, and you haven't traveled a single mile.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The guide's path, on the other hand, is like just getting in the car, turning on your GPS, and driving.
Just listening to the directions.
Yeah, you don't need to know how the satellites orbiting the Earth are triangulating your position. You just listen to the voice telling you when to turn left. You take it day by day, you look out the window, you enjoy the drive.
It's so much simpler.
It is. And the text says that by doing this, you will bring clarity and joy into your life unknowingly over time.
That mechanism of progressing unknowingly is vital. You aren't tracking your spiritual growth on a spreadsheet.
Right, there's no progress bar.
Exactly. It happens as a natural byproduct of simple living. You aren't forcing the evolution, you're just participating in the journey.
So let's say you do this. You follow the guide. You ditch the heavy theoretical frameworks. You treat reality as a consequence-free game. And you successfully lock in all 8 mental states.
Right.
You are now officially a human celestial being. What happens next? How does the roadmap progress?
This is where the framework transitions from a purely psychological state to a physiological one. Oh, really?
Yeah, the next tier in the taxonomy is the land celestial being. To reach this level, the text states you must possess all 8 mental states of the human celestial, but you must pair them with physical perfection.
Physical perfection.
Specifically, you must enjoy good health, a vibrant spirit, and the vitality of youth.
I find this connection fascinating. It implies a direct psychosomatic link. It's arguing that you cannot achieve true lasting physical vitality if your mind is weighed down by earthly ties and you know the cognitive load of protecting your ego.
And conversely, it asserts that genuine spiritual enlightenment does not leave you physically withered or ascetic or depleted.
Right, you aren't supposed to look like a starving mystic in a cave.
Exactly. The ideal state of the land celestial is vibrant. Your physical vessel actively reflects the absolute joy and simplicity of your internal mental state.
And if you achieve this mind-body synchronization, the reward is massive. The text explicitly names the destination for this specific stage.
The 1,000-year world. Yes. If you have become both a human and a land celestial being, you will undoubtedly reach what is called the 1,000-year world.
Which functions as a sort of transitional paradise. It is a lower heaven within the broader Celestial Islands continent framework. It's an absolute certainty for anyone who achieves this mental and physical harmony.
But wait, we started this deep dive by listing 5 tiers. We've only covered human and land.
That's right.
What about the top of the hierarchy? How do we become a deity celestial being or a super celestial being? Where's the step-by-step checklist to achieve ultimate godhood?
The author handles those final tiers with a brilliant rhetorical pivot.
Oh.
Yeah, instead of providing another exhaustive list of requirements for the highest levels, the text simply addresses the reader and says, continue to follow me, and in due time, I will tell you.
which is such an incredibly confident place to leave the reader.
It is.
But strategically, it makes perfect sense within the philosophy of the text.
Sure.
I mean, if the author gave us a 50-point checklist for becoming a super celestial being right now, what would we immediately do?
We would start obsessing over it.
Exactly. We would start theorizing, mapping it out, and turning it right back into the complex academic exercise we were just told to abandon.
Precisely. By explicitly withholding the end of the roadmap, the text forces you to stay present. It demands trust in the immediate process.
It grounds you.
It strips away your anxiety about the distant future and forces you to look at today. Are you joyful today? Is your mind clear today? If you are on the guide's path, that is enough.
Let's bring all these threads together. We've explored a radically different approach to leveling up today. We looked at the taxonomy of celestial beings, bypassing the ghost here, to establish the human celestial being as our baseline.
Right.
We dissected the psychological mechanics of the 8 checkpoints, understanding how dropping the cognitive load of honor and disgrace frees up the mind to experience an ocean of love.
Such a powerful concept.
And we grappled with the controversial idea of treating life as a consequence-free game. Plus, we examined the author's absolute rejection of complex intellectual study in favor of a simple guided path that naturally leads to the physical vitality of a land celestial being.
For you listening, the practical application of this text is profound, even if you have no intention of ascending to a literal celestial island.
Yeah, definitely.
We live in an era defined by information overload, where we are pressured to optimize, theorize, and track every single aspect of our existence.
Oh, constantly.
The core proposition here, trading chaotic theoretical overthinking for a mindset where life is approached as a simple, joyful game, is an incredibly powerful psychological tool. It demands that we ask whether our endless pursuit of complex knowledge is actually serving our well-being or if it is just building higher walls around our egos.
It really reframes the whole concept of self-improvement. And it leaves us with one final, deeply provocative thought to mull over. Let's think about the reality of that destination we mentioned. The 1,000-year world. If achieving the status of a land celestial means you have successfully severed all your earthly ties, you have eradicated all sorrow from your mind, you no longer care about honor, disgrace, life, or death, and you treat every single interaction as a completely consequence-free game, what does existence in that 1,000-year world actually look like?
It's a fascinating thought experiment.
Is 1,000 straight years of playing a game with absolutely zero stakes an unimaginable perfect paradise? Or, if you remove all struggle, all consequence, and all fear of failure, does that state of being require an entirely new definition of what it even means to be, quote, human? It's something to think about the next time you feel the urge to overanalyze your life or wonder exactly what kind of ladder you are trying so hard to climb.